I've started shuffling cards and already they're spilling out all over the place. I wonder if there's a message from Spirit that's kind of on the messy side, or the message is about a messy situation. I'm going to shuffle cards until Spirit tells me to stop, and I'm putting in reversals right now. So whatever message Spirit wants to give us today is the message that I will give. Okay. Being forced to leave a situation that we didn't necessarily want to leave. We've got a lot of stuff left behind on the shore that we're leaving behind, and we're not too sure about where we're going. That shore on the other side is supposedly not better than where we were, or so we thought. There's a whole lot of confusion around this particular card. Absolutely being forced to leave, can't go home and don't want to go home necessarily, but also don't want to pull forward into the future. I understand that completely. Okay, I understand that on a molecular level. That is the initial energy of this particular spread. I'm just doing 3 cards and we'll see where it goes from there, okay? There's a whole lot of regret. Not being able to move on. This is absolutely about the future. It's about grieving a past that we thought that was firm, was ours forever. We never thought that whatever we had, at least right now in this moment that I'm giving this reading, we never thought that this could be taken away from us. We didn't want to leave home. Or if, like say for instance, I'll speak for the United States, you're kind of stuck here, you aren't able to get out, then this is going to be especially rough because you will have left home in the sense that once things start to change, there is no going back, and there's going to be a lot of regret about how much we took the past for granted, okay? And I'm speaking about the future. We are currently in the context where we are taking stuff for granted because it's always been this way. In the future, that's not guaranteed. That is something to be concerned about. Unity with others is definitely going to be key here, to the exclusion of all else, too. But having some regrets about not coming together in unity. I've said before in another reading how, again, if you're in the United States, there's going to be a lot of regret in the sense that what we will have in the future is going to feel a whole lot rougher than any of the division that we might have had in the past. There's going to be that sense of, good grief, whatever divisions, whatever crazy differences we had in the past was better than what we have right now. This is going to be, like I've been saying for a while now, these are going to be catastrophic changes for the United States. There's no one who's genuinely prepared for this. Even if you consider yourself to be one of the one of those preparers of the, I don't have the words right now, but for the people who get ready for disasters, even those people aren't ready yet. There is no refuge that's going to genuinely help here. Everyone's going to get touched by whatever's coming up over the course of 2025 and 2026, okay? The truth is going to both set us free and is going to cut us to the quick. These cards are, or I should say the Ace of Swords is landing on top of the Six of Swords in reverse. We're not going to be able to see illusion anymore. It's going to be cut away. This is coming out of the clouds. There we go. That's point. That's what my monitor's showing. This is going to be cutting through, and we're not going to be able to avoid the truth of the situation. The only way we're going to avoid the truth is if we lose our minds. like literally, like need to go to the hospital, kind of lose our minds. You understand? This is going to, I suspect that quite a few are. Again, when I look back at like my old readings about Project 2025 and other things coming up in the future, I saw that there were going to be people who would be emotionally stunted, emotionally ruined by what we have coming up. I'm speaking to myself here because I'm still in the United States. The truth is going to be of a great burden. The truth is going to be of a great burden that we're not going to be able, it's going to be different. It's going to be like everyone's going to carry the truth on their backs or hold it in a different way. This is one solitary individual. Even though we might be in families, we might be married to people, even though we might have children, everyone's going to carry this burden heavily and in a different way. It's going to be so catastrophic that it divides people from each other, like families from each other, just individuals, siloed people who are going to be so shocked and so traumatized that they can't relate, that they can't connect to each other. And there's the regret once again. I can't believe I took so much of the past for granted, is what I suspect a lot of us are going to be saying. We got the moon card. This is a full moon. It is not a new moon. The full moon does a decent-ish job, especially if it's a supermoon like this one, for instance. The full moon, a supermoon, does a decent job of illuminating the landscape in front of us. We still need the assistance of flashlights in order to properly see everything, but the universe is blessing our journey forward. It's blessing us in unity to come together in some fashion once things really start to sink in. Once our new realities really start to sink in, that's when we're going to be able to start to connect to others in a most effective way to help people out, most especially the most vulnerable in our society, the elderly, for instance, disabled people, minority groups, children. We are going to be able to, I would hope, more effectively protect the vulnerable. But it's also going to be a mystery as to how all of this is going to come together. Because if people are so divided, they are so traumatized that they can't even relate to the people that they are most connected, they would normally be most connected to, then how is this supposed to happen? This is going to be about finding our ways back to community after we've been so utterly fractured that we can't imagine how that's supposed to come out, how that's supposed to manifest, if you will. We don't know how this is going to turn out. We just know that we can only see a few steps in front of us, assuming that we don't have flashlights, for instance. And by that, I mean assuming that people aren't using their psychic intuition. I believe that everybody is born with some degree of intuitive, of psychic abilities. Small, large, it doesn't matter. Everyone's got some to some degree if they choose to tap into it. I don't like, if people can tap into their intuition, their right is some of your flashlight, but you need to keep in mind that the universe is going to conceal stuff even from deeply psychic people. Because if those deeply psychic people talk too much, then people might try to change things in a way that the universe doesn't want things to change. It needs the tower to happen. The tower needs to fall because what has been built up over centuries since the last Pluto in Aquarius is no longer working. In fact, it is killing people. This needs to change fundamentally, and it is going to be a dark night of the soul for everybody when it comes to relating and connecting to others. It's going to be something that they just cannot do. These are solitary people, okay? These guys are side by side. We don't know how we're going to come back to these communities, but at the same time, we're just so alone. It's going to be hard to connect, quite possibly, with other people. Our trauma is going to be so deep, we're not going to know how things collapsed so quickly, so fast, in front of our eyes. The truth about the wealth of a nation. Here we go. I'm starting a third new row. This is what I've got. not wanting to leave home, not wanting to admit the truth that we have squandered the wealth of a nation. This great American experiment, as deeply flawed as it was, as much as it oppressed people in order to stay above, was unique in a sense. And it's going to be hard to let go of being the number one nation in many, many ways, the most powerful nation. We're not going to be a place where people come to spend their money, to come to ask for help, to have parties at, right? This is about someone who is so wealthy. This individual, this family right here is so wealthy that they are basically the king, even if they aren't officially the king. Effectively, as far as economic status, as far as the power in the village, if you will, they are. That's no longer going to be the case for the United States, and that is going to be a very tough reality for a lot of people to accept. I understand at this point that you might feel like I'm fear-mongering. I want you to know that I will never not give you the truth to the best of my ability, okay? As long as the universe gives me the information, I have a moral obligation to give it to you. You don't have to listen to it right now, but you do need to know that I will tell you the truth. When the universe asks me to say something, it's not fear-mongering if it comes true. Being forewarned is being forearmed. You need to get into communities now so that even if you need a couple of weeks or months of being separate to really absorb what's been going on, what will be going on, you still need communities that are strong enough that you can go through the night together. This is vital. You need to be together in communities. I'm speaking to myself just like I'm speaking to you, okay? It's really easy to get isolated into our internet silos. How the internet functions, how its algorithms function, makes that easy. And it's not a healthy thing ultimately for us. Excuse me. We've got the Queen of Swords here. We're going to need to be, once again, we've got a solitary figure in a row of 3 solitary figures. This is absolutely going to force us to be way more careful about who it is that we let into our circles. There's going to be a point where we say, I've allowed this person into my life. I've tolerated them. I don't get along with them. There's going to be an end to that. We're going to say enough. Enough of that fuck shit. If this person isn't good for me, doesn't matter if it's a family member, a friend, a romantic partner, or even one of my children, they will step the fuck out of my life because I cannot handle this right now. Be cautious that you don't push out the wrong people just because you are in so much pain that you can't, this is not a burden that you're meant to carry alone, at least not for long, okay? You might be tempted to do so. Do not be tempted for too long to stay solitary. That is how you die. Both a physical death, a spiritual death, a mental death. This is not the time to be alone. I cannot emphasize enough. You need to be in a community, and you need to start a meditative practice if you haven't started one already. I think it's cool that if you already have, fucking A. I am so freaking proud of you, okay? For real. I'm also working on my own meditative practice. I work hard to do this once a day, every day, because I know that I need to learn how to stay grounded now while it's easy, so that when it's time to actually do the stuff, actually go through the events, I'll have a habit down. I'll know how to come back to a quiet place in my mind and give myself that foundation when the whole world seems to be falling apart. And it will, is what Spirit is saying. Pluto in Aquarius is going to be rough with this particular transit. Also, we have Uranus in Gemini starting in July next year, 2025. Why is that significant? Every single time the United States has in a Uranus in Gemini, because of its Sibley natal birth chart, at the time that the United States was starting to become a developing nation, Uranus in Gemini was in a really powerful place. It was around for the American Revolution, the Revolutionary War, it was around for the Civil War, and it was around for World War II. All 3 wars were incredibly impactful for the United States. We have another one of those transits coming up in July 2025. And I suspect that this is around the time when things are going to get extremely rough for a lot of people inside the United States. I suspect that there is a civil war on its way. Let us hold in love and light, wish for peace on earth, that none of those things come true. This is one thing that I really want to be wrong about. I've pulled the Five of Swords next. Excuse me, I just dropped the Two of Cups. And now it's in reverse. Interesting. I'm not going to leave it that way. I did put reversals into this particular thing, but this is what I've got. This was originally upright. It fell into the floor in reverse. There's going to be a very strong temptation to fight the people that we're closest towards, because there's something that just explodes, in a sense, and our lizard brains, and just flips the fuck out. Has an utter meltdown, cannot comprehend, refuses to comprehend, and instead you fight the people who should be your allies, your friends, your family members, your romantic partner. These should be your allies, but the moon occludes a whole lot of what we should be seeing clearly. You must see with your intuitive eyes through this particular era. It is not something that you can just feel your way through with your feelings. Your intuition must guide your feelings. Your intuition must guide your mind. You need to practice now with your gut feeling. You need to practice listening and obeying your gut feeling when it tells you to pay attention to something, to get out of a particular situation. This is absolutely key. Be aware that fighting with people who are supposed to be your closest allies could fuck you over in the future in ways that you did not expect. Pluto in Aquarius is all about the sudden black swan events that we were not expecting. Black swan events are perfectly natural things that come from a natural progression of events, but they blindside everybody. Additionally, it completely changes the course of history, at least for the United States. 9/11 is often described as a black swan event, a natural progression of events that blindsided the United States, at least, and completely changed the course of history from then on. I was 14 when that happened. I remember perfectly well what at least the United States was like before and after. This is going to be that 10 times over on a far grander scale, because that was confined to New York City, okay, and also to Washington, D.C. This is going to sweep the entire nation. Sorry if I brushed my mic. No one's going to be exempt to this. Again, for the people who are doomsday preppers, there's the word. For the people who are doomsday preppers, even those folks are not ready. There is nothing really that you can do to fully 100% prepare for what's coming on down the pipeline. Please heed these warnings. Please heed them, and don't dismiss them as just mere fear-mongering. I want to help you. Spirit wants to help you. If you lean on your intuition, if you lean on your ancestors, your deities, your guides, the universe, it will assist you even through the darkest night. Again, this is a full moon, but you have to slow down. You have to listen carefully. You have to watch carefully. You can't just go blitzing through life and expect things to be okay. That's where you're going to tend to drown in that water. I was talking about lizard feelings and gut feelings and that kind of thing. That's what this primitive aspect right here. You've got a domesticated dog and then like one of those drawn on the cave walls kind of dogs, okay? Kind of a wolf dog, if you will. You're going to need to allow those two parts of you to unify. That one that remembers what it was like to be pre-2025, pre-2026, whenever those things really start to kick off. You need to remember who you were before, and you also need to listen to your gut. Listen to that lizard brain when it says, hey, this is not a good situation and we need to move out of here quickly. It would behoove you to pay attention to this and know that the universe is blessing you all along. But the night also has a way of concealing your closest friends. What I should say is concealing and confusing your closest allies and your enemies. Be careful about who you accuse as an enemy. Be careful also who you take on as an ally. This is in the upright position. This is about filtering out people who have no business being around your heart, who have no business being around your sacred intuition either. The Queen of Swords is a deeply feeling character, but first and foremost, she uses her brilliant mind to cut out anyone who does not belong in her life anymore. Those people who do belong in her life get access to her deeply feeling, compassionate heart, as well as to her incredibly wise intuition. You need to carry forth, regardless of what your gender expression may be, you need to carry forth the mindset and also the heart set of the Queen of Swords. We've got here the King of Wands. You have people in charge who have no idea what the fuck they're doing. They're taking this flaming wand and they're just sweeping it across the nation, destroying stuff as they go. This people, these organizations, these governments have no business earning your loyalty. They should not earn your loyalty, in fact. Blind loyalty, blind trust is what could lead to your downfall. And this goes for everybody. Blind trust in institutions that we've all taken for granted. There's nobody alive who remembers a pre-United States of America. But we will be alive, I suspect, to see a former, possibly, United States of America. 2 more. Interesting. Look who we've got. It's the 2 of them, and they're both in reverse. This is about extreme scorched earth. Afraid of. We have a lot to be afraid of when it comes to the leaders who are taking their positions in government. I'm getting a coup attempt. I'm getting hostile takeovers. We've got some violent years ahead of us, and I would absolutely expect that of fire energy in reverse. When I think of fire energy in reverse, I think of a fast-moving prairie fire. Sometime look up a video of how fast a fire takes to sweep across a dry field, and I'm getting that kind of imagery right now. No worries I'm hoping for a lot of the people watching this. Well, no worries. I shouldn't say that at all. You do need to be cautious, but you also need to be aware of how much the universe loves you, how much your ancestors, your deities love you, and how much they want to see you on a spiritual path that benefits you and inspires others to follow your example. If you're watching this, know this much: the universe loves you and cares for you, and does not want evil or harm to befall you. So listen to it carefully. This is important. You need to start paying attention to your psychic abilities, your intuition, your gut feelings now. This is not something that you can afford to escape from, to mindlessly let go of, to let go of in fear even. This is not the time. Practice now. Maybe possibly pick up a tarot deck or a Lenormand deck. You know, a lot of people prefer Lenormand because it's just so much more plain spoken for them than tarot is. Okay? You need to pick what works best for you. So I'm kind of, this is landing on the same stack as the 5 of Swords. A whole lot of fighting. And this is where I kind of get that feeling of civil war. I'm kind of getting the feeling that our leaders, if you can call them that, will be encouraging civil war. We've got 3 wands in a row, dude. And I'm looking at the spread that I did below these 3 cards. There's only one wands. There's only one wand card here, and that was the 10 of Wands. They're going to push their agenda onto us, and the burden is going to be entirely on us. And I feel like civil war is just imminent. It's not just going to be the government that does the scorched earth thing. It's going to be individuals against each other too. This is going to be rough to go through. It's going to be rough to watch. Even if the universe is protecting you, even if you are listening closely, this is going to be heartbreaking, because you're going to see people who you thought were friends, who you thought were family, turning into monstrous people. And there's the kind of myth that monsters are just very, very bad people, when in fact the ability to become a monster is within all of us. I think that's part of why Wicked was so popular. And I don't think people really realized why. It shows how a society can turn an individual into a monster, when in fact that individual, if they had been treated just like everybody else, would have probably been just fine, would have never have become a monster. But also the willingness to say, okay, if you're going to treat me this way, then I'll become what you want me to become. This is going to show people's true colors. How the government behaves, how the government deteriorates, I should say, is going to show people's true colors. And that's when they're going to strike and show you who they really, really are. And when they show you who they really are, you must believe them. Maya Angelou said that. Angelou, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I am sorry if I'm not. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. And that means even making the painful decision to separate yourself from families, from best friends that you thought were best friends, from romantic partners. These are going to be rough events, and these revealing of true colors is only going to be rougher if the people around you aren't genuinely, from the bottom of their heart, authentically trying to reach their best and their highest good every day, even when it's hard, even when it feels like circumstances are just kicking them in the teeth over and over. If they choose to be amazing, badass people, keep those people in your life at all costs, dude. That's a moment where you do sacrifice stuff for those people, because there may be the risk that you don't find anyone like that ever again. No more from me. I hope that y'all have a blessed day. I hope that you pay attention to the warnings that the universe gives you, because it's seeking your best and your highest good. You need to work with it, please. Take care.